That's what I'm fucking talking about!
You could film the gnarliest video part imaginable in just these two spots if you really wanted to. If you wanted to incorporate the double kink rail across the street, you even could. I mean, these are uncharacteristically gnarly New York City spots. Or if you're Mark Suciu, you could film a line that incorporates both the courthouse drop and Blubba directly across the street. Like, watch that line and you'll figure out just exactly how closely situated these two legendary spots truly are. So I'm at Columbus Park right now, and I think in skateboarding, most of us know this park because of the overrail right there and the kind of low impact ledge zone right here. This park is actually built on the footprint of what had been the most congested, polluted, and dangerous neighborhood in the United States in the 19th century, a neighborhood called Five Points. You know that term, don't shit where you eat? That rule didn't apply in 5 Points. Yellow fever, typhoid, dysentery, all of this was right here. And the entire neighborhood was built on a polluted swamp from the early 18th century, where you had breweries, tanneries, and light industry that all poured their refuse and trash and toxic liquids into what had been New York's only source of fresh water on Manhattan. On top of that, you had these blind alleys and dead-end streets and weirdly curving roads where gangs hung out.
Who holds sway over the 5 Points?
If you're familiar with Gangs of New York, you already know about Five Points there because that was about the gangs in the 19th century that lived in Five Points. And these gangs were largely formed from the many different immigrant groups that came to this neighborhood throughout the 19th century. This was also, of course, a predominantly Chinese neighborhood. New York's Chinatown is a little bit younger but bigger than San Francisco's Chinatown, but New York's Chinatown continues to grow to this day. This is still one of the most densely packed and longest standing ethnic neighborhoods in Lower Manhattan. So you gotta wonder why a courthouse, central booking, and a jail would all be in such close proximity to the most dangerous neighborhood in the United States in the 19th century. And it's kind of a no-brainer. How do you get rid of crime? You put the judge, jury, and executioner right at the heart of the neighborhood, and you put a playground right where that swamp once was. So now we're like at Foley Square, also known as Thomas Paine Park. Blubba is on one side, which is of course like a monument to an African burial ground that speaks to like the black presence on Manhattan Island right at the beginning of the European founding of the island in the 1620s. This courthouse was begun in 1913, and in 1913 the city holds a competition and they invite architects to submit their designs, and a Boston-based architect named Guy Lowell wins the competition. And his idea is to have this giant round Roman temple, probably looking like the Pantheon in ancient Rome. It's been 15 years since New York City went from being one of the biggest cities in the country to a mega city by incorporating all 5 boroughs. How do you impose your presence on that? Giant rows of Corinthian columns, this massive temple front, and a misquoted quote from George Washington, "The true administration of justice is the firmest pillar of good government." The quote was actually, "The due administration of justice is the firmest pillar of good government," but you know, whatever. And when you look at photos of the construction, steel diagonal frames are holding up those steps, and those massive ramps on either side that lead up to the entrance of the courthouse, that constitutes not only the ledges, but the actual drop that people still skate to this day. That ledge and that spot dates from 1927. It's 96 years old. I mean, the thing about Five Points is it sort of was this juncture between the Lower East Side to the east of the island and Broadway and Soho and Tribeca in the middle of the islands. From the 90s onwards, people were coming from the Lower East Side, from the East Village, and skating down the Bowery or whatever, or they're skating down Lafayette from Astor Place to get to the bank. So this was always a place where people would either skate through or skate at. I don't really think that many people were skating Blubba. It was really like Jake Johnson, Anthony Papalardo, Yage with the switchback tail that really kind of opened this up as a spot. The hubba itself comes from about 2000. And again, this is a monument to this African burial ground that's just on the other side of Lafayette Street to the west. Lurker Lou told me, he's an expert on any granular detail of the stonework in any skate spot in New York or the world, that this is black Cambrian granite from Quebec. He also told me that what the ledges and the drop are made of on the other side come from a granite quarry in Barrie, Vermont. So there you go. If you come down here, it's like just hit after hit, like spot, spot, spot. You don't realize until you get here just how close every spot that you've seen in videos or in photos actually is. Columbus Park and that rail and those ledges is a block away. The courthouse drop is directly across the street from Blubba. The municipal building is directly on the other side of the Brooklyn Bridge, which is where you find the banks. So it would make sense that in the 90s, as street skating is kind of developing in this way, you would have ledge plazas and drops and gaps and stair sets like all in this place that had just been recently rebuilt 50 years before. The first footage that I remember of someone skating this drop was someone olling into the bank in a Zoo York promo for 411. The next thing, as far as I know, is like Billy Rohan does a nollie hard flip in it. Keith Huffnagel does a backside lip slide on the ledge. Javier does a front crook to fakie. That ledge is fucking high. So any trick done on that spot is so sick because you have to ride on this like narrow stair to get on that ledge, do your trick, and then lands onto the bank to drop. It's not just guaranteed that once you land all four wheels on that thing, you're rolling off of a head-high drop. You could get wheel bite and fall and land on the fence. I thought Zared Bassett's switchback 5-0 on the out ledge just beneath the bank, and Brandon Westgate's like back nose grind, but those were both like pretty creative uses of that spot. I love that this spot is sort of endured as a place where if you get the chance to skate it, you try to do something. If you want to, like you can get buck here. You can come from out of town and try to outdo your favorite skater at this spot or suffer the consequences. Think of just like the way that Tyshawn at like 12 or 13 made his mark on this spot by just rifling off tricks down this thing. And the courthouse has remained like an enduring spot for him to constantly improve his skating on and at. But this is one of those few spots where the architecture and what it represents, power, monumentality, awesome force, all of these things actually matches with the type of skateboarding being done here because this is such a gnarly spot and such, as you can see, a massive drop. And ancient Roman buildings, just like this building, are supposed to make you feel small. You're supposed to be impressed with the awesome power that it took to move that stone from its quarry to the center of a city. Again, it's an island at the center of the world. It's not just that you're doing a trick on some granite, it's that you're doing a trick on the most exalted granite in what a lot of New Yorkers do believe to be the most important place in the universe.